Okay, I did this separate video because it deserves its own airtime. The person you see in front of you is, as I previously indicated, Peter Schweizer, Schweizer, and he is the author of Clinton Cash. Clinton Cash was turned into a book and then a movie. Rachel Maddow is going to have a guest on her show that is going to talk about this particular situation. But before we get to that section of the video, you need to hear the rest of this as far as how Clinton Cash, which has been debunked, was used as the source for the FBI's witch hunt against the Clintons.
This person runs the Government Accountability Institute with Steve Bannon from Breitbart.com. He's also himself a senior editor at Breitbart.com. And both of his jobs, both of those places that he works, they are both funded by the same hedge fund zillionaire, by Donald Trump's biggest donor. And with that support, working for those organizations, all funded by this one guy, this guy from the Government Accountability Institute, this editor at Breitbart.com, he wrote a book. And you'll be very surprised to learn that this book spins some very elaborate, very damning conspiracy theories about Donald Trump. No, just kidding. Not about Donald Trump. Obviously, the book is about how terrible, terrible, terrible Hillary Clinton is. And then once he produced this anti-Hillary Clinton book with all these elaborate theories about Hillary Clinton's terribleness, after he wrote this book, Trump's campaign chief, this guy's boss at Breitbart, the guy who used to run Breitbart.com, he decided to turn the book into a movie of the same name. So it's all very neat and tidy, right? It's all of a piece. It's all one freaking donor. This is this very specific pedigree of this one corner of the conservative media world and now the Republican presidential campaign that doesn't really look much like anything else in Republican politics. I mean, this is, yeah, it's super right-wing stuff. It's conspiratorial stuff, but it's not, in a lot of ways, it's not normal Republican messaging. It's unusual. Banning all Muslims from the country, right? I mean, this is the corner of the conservative media world that says Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan is secretly working for Hillary Clinton, and he has been for months, and he must be destroyed. Also, they maintain that every Republican you might have ever heard of who's not named Donald Trump must be destroyed. Everybody from John Boehner to Eric Cantor to Paul Ryan to John McCain in Breitbart.comville, all of those guys, they aren't just the household name Republicans that have led this party, who every American has heard of if they care anything about politics. In Breitbart.com land, all of those folks are traitors. They're evil, secret liberals who must be destroyed. Breitbart.com has campaigned for primary challengers against John McCain, against Eric Cantor, against Paul Ryan, against John Boehner. They were the ones who led the online media campaign to throw John Boehner out as Speaker of the House. Incidentally, I should also tell you that Breitbart.com maintains that everybody in America needs to beware the rising threat of ecosexuals. People who have sex with trees. People are doing it with trees, you guys. It's terrible. Ecosexuals. And incidentally, if you're attracted to that story, you might notice in the sidebar there, get your own copy of the anti-Hillary Clinton book. Give us your email address and we'll send you the DVD version of it in case you don't read. Hurry, act now while supplies are limited. I actually don't think supplies are limited at all. I think they've got a lot of them. I think you can probably have multiple copies if you want. Just give them some fake email addresses. This week, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal reported that there has been, I guess you'd call it like a breakout. There's been a breakout from this otherwise insular little Breitbart.com corner of conservative media and political activism. Those two papers reported that apparently there are Breitbart.com fans. There are Breitbart.com true believers. There are people who buy this stuff, who are working inside the New York field office of the FBI. The New York Times and Wall Street Journal were first to report that the New York field office of the FBI actually used that anti-Hillary Clinton book and the DVD of the same name from the Breitbart.com guys, from the Breitbart.com editor and his boss, who's now the head of the Donald Trump campaign, the one funded by Donald Trump's biggest donor, right? They actually used that Breitbart.com anti-Hillary Clinton book as their source for launching a local FBI inquiry into Hillary Clinton. That was their evidence. That was their research. These agents in the New York field office reportedly decided that they needed to look into what Breitbart.com was saying about Hillary Clinton. It all sounds terrible. It sounds totally legit. We should look into that. We're the FBI. It had previously been reported that New York FBI agents had brought this anti-Hillary Clinton Breitbart stuff to a meeting, they had brought this anti-Hillary Clinton stuff to a meeting with career Justice Department prosecutors back in February. And one of the participants in that meeting described it as, quote, one of the weirdest meetings I have ever been to. But all we knew before now was that they had just brought some stuff about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation to that meeting. We now know, based on this new current reporting, that what the New York agents brought to prosecutors at that meeting wasn't just generic anti-Hillary Clinton stuff or Hillary Clinton stuff they had cooked up on their own. No, it was this stuff that had been cooked up at Breitbart. It is this stuff that came from the Ecosexuals Having Sex with Trees website. That is what they had. That is what they brought to career Department of Justice prosecutors. And reportedly, the career prosecutors were like, where did you get that? I'm not sure that's a case. Thanks to Lord knows whatever's going on, apparently inside that New York field office, the FBI, that little adventure, which is now reportedly over, that little adventure from the Breitbart.com readers inside this one FBI field office, that's what's out now in today's news 5 days before the election. That's what was breathlessly reported on Fox News last night. Based on FBI sources. It was breathlessly reported on Fox last night as a whole new Hillary Clinton FBI investigation. One that was definitely going to lead to an indictment. Fox News has since walked back that part about it definitely leading to an indictment, but the Trump campaign is still running with it anyway. New investigation, Hillary Clinton definitely going to be indicted. And of course, you know what? Do you blame them? Of course the Trump campaign is running with this. You would expect them to. I mean, they bought and paid for it. The donor who is mostly funding the Trump presidential effort bought and paid for this. I'm not saying it hyperbolically. Trump's biggest donor paid the people who created this story to create this story. And so, of course, the Trump campaign is going to use it. But it's one thing to cook up a dubious conspiratorial political attack and fling it at your political opponent. It's another thing altogether to cook up a dubious conspiratorial political attack like this and have the FBI fling it at your opponent. That's a different thing. And that is what the FBI, at least part of the FBI, is now doing in this election. They're using stuff from Breitbart.com, apparently, as their research, as their evidence, and then they're leaking about their new investigation into this evidence to Fox News right before the election. And here's the really creepy part. Here's the prospect that the anti-Clinton Breitbart readers in this one office of the FBI, they're not just leaking the stuff to Fox News, not just leaking the stuff to the conservative media. Here's the prospect that they're leaking this stuff to the Trump campaign directly. Wayne Barrett, great reporter, writes for the Daily Beast today. He points out that this was Trump campaign advisor Rudy Giuliani on Fox News 2 days before FBI Director James Comey sent his bombshell letter to Congress about Hillary Clinton's emails this past Friday. This was Rudy Giuliani on Fox, unprompted, bringing this up on his own, 2 days before the FBI Director James Comey sent that letter. Watch this.
He's got a surprise or two that you're going to hear about in the next few days. I mean, I'm talking about some pretty big surprise.
Oh yeah, I heard you say that this morning. What do you mean?
You'll see.
Rudy Giuliani, you're lucky because we gotta go. I'm out of time. I keep pressing you.
We're not going to go down, and we're certainly not going to stop fighting. We got a couple things up our sleeve that should turn this around.
We got a couple things up our sleeve that should turn this around. You're going to hear about, we got a couple of things you're going to hear about over the next couple of days. I'm talking about some pretty big surprises. That was Rudy Giuliani 2 days before the director of the FBI sent that letter about Hillary Clinton and the email investigation that landed like such a bombshell in this campaign and arguably has put the presidency back in reach for Donald Trump. Rudy Giuliani 2 days before that saying, we've got a couple of things up our sleeve. You're going to hear about some things over the next couple of days, some pretty big surprises. How did Rudy Giuliani know that? Did somebody at the FBI leak to the Trump campaign 2 days in advance that the FBI was about to throw an anti-Hillary Clinton grenade into the presidential race? Today, Mark Hosenball at Reuters is a really good investigative reporter. Mark Hosenball reported at Reuters tonight that when the FBI director decided to send that letter to Congress about the Clinton email thing, quote, he was driven in part by a fear of leaks from within his own agency. Quote, 2 law enforcement sources familiar with the FBI's New York field office said a faction of investigators based in that office is known to be hostile to Hillary Clinton. Over at the Guardian newspaper today, their national security editor, Spencer Ackerman, who is a great reporter, Spencer reports this, quote, deep antipathy to Hillary Clinton exists within the FBI. It's according to multiple FBI sources speaking to the Guardian. That deep antipathy has spurred, quote, a rapid series of leaks damaging to Clinton's campaign just days before the election. One currently serving FBI agent tells the Guardian, quote, the FBI is Trumpland. Clinton is the Antichrist personified to some FBI personnel, and the reason why they are leaking is that they are pro-Trump. The FBI would not comment for the Guardian story. They would not give a comment to Mark Hosenball and his reporting about New York's FBI field office essentially trying to throw the election in favor of Trump. But that's where we are right now. If part of the FBI is a Breitbart.com fan club, and they're trying to use the FBI, the power of the FBI, to throw the election in Trump's favor, how does Clinton fight back against that? How does anybody? Joining us now is Spencer Ackerman, National Security Editor with the Guardian newspaper. Spencer, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Rachel.
So this current agent has told you the FBI is Trumpland. I read that reporting tonight along with this reporting we also got from Mark Hosenball, specifically naming the FBI New York field office. We've had other reporting from other sources pointing fingers at the New York field office saying, if you want to look, basically, if you want to know where these leaks are coming from and where the political impetus for them is coming, it's that office. Is it, in your reporting, in your estimation, is that the right place to look, or is this a more widespread thing you're reporting on?
I would say that it's a more widespread thing, that the New York field office is a particular locus, particularly when you look at its connections to Rudy Giuliani, as the Daily Beast reported today. Really powerful story there. But a lot of this seems to be rather widespread, seems to be rather persistent within the FBI itself. And now it's something that their director, Jim Comey, is having to deal with.
And you've got FBI sources, law enforcement sources coming to you talking about this. I'm not asking you anything about to point at your sources, but is part of what's happening now that there are some folks within the FBI who are concerned about the political interventions that are being made by some people within the FBI? Is that why people are talking to reporters about this?
A couple levels of this. First, there are people within the FBI and in law enforcement circles that are very disturbed that, in particular, the FBI appears to be throwing its lot in with Trump, especially when you look kind of broader at national security circles. Senior levels of the military, the officer corps, very much afraid of Trump, very much against, to the degree that they can be without being overtly political, not on board, certainly. Same thing with a lot of people within the CIA and around the intelligence community. So it's somewhat anomalous and striking that there are people this sympathetic to Trump in such a high-profile way. And then there's a kind of broader sense from within the FBI that this intervention that we saw with Comey on Friday with this very vague, innuendo-filled letter is crossing a Rubicon. A threshold has been crossed in American politics where now something much more familiar to the decades ago history of the FBI with J. Edgar Hoover, essentially controlling a lot of people's political fates with innuendo. No one thinks it's really quite that far, but if it rhymes in that kind of history, it creates a great deal of anxiety. And one more thing about this, there aren't a lot of people within the FBI that I've been able to find and people sort of in law enforcement circles and intelligence circles and even in political circles broadly, who knows how this ends, who knows how the FBI walks this back, who knows what the FBI will behave like if Clinton is elected or even if Trump is elected.
Right, what's the relationship between the FBI as an agency and the FBI director with the new president once the FBI is known to have played a role, an overt political role, in trying to get one side elected? To that point, in terms of how this ends, I'm wondering how this ends just over the next 5 days. Do you have any reason to expect that we're going to hear more politically motivated leaks in either direction from the FBI over the next 5 days?
They seem to be coming every single day now. I mean, it's been an intense weekend. I have to tell you, when I started reporting this story, I didn't think it was going to lead to someone saying the FBI is Trumpland or using the FBI with a description, rhyming with Portlandia. That, in my experience, a lot of people at the FBI are sober professionals. And to hear that this is the way things have developed really was very striking.
Yeah, and that they're using the power of that agency as a political op. This is a big deal. Spencer Ackerman, National Security Editor at The Guardian. Spencer, I haven't seen you in too long. It's really good to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, my friend. Great.
All right, let me say this. All of the leaks coming out of the FBI have been anti-Clinton. The one opportunity that the FBI had to sign on to the fact that the Russians were the ones hacking us and hacking into the DNC and Podesta, etc. The 17 agencies signed on to this, but the one principal one that didn't was the FBI. Why not? That FBI office in New York has another problem. The Eric Garner murder was supposedly investigated by the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice uses a lot of the same investigators and attorneys as the FBI, okay? And the New York section of the Office of the Department of Justice did not want to prosecute the detective that actually applied the chokehold. It got so bad that the Washington Bureau of the Department of Justice took over the investigation and will announce that they are going to prosecute this guy, to which the New York branch of the Department of Justice, i.e. the FBI, threw a major hissy fit. I'm going to submit to you this. We know that various police departments around the country have been infiltrated by white supremacists. Guess what? The FBI was the one that basically let us know. Now, some of the more famous departments that were infiltrated by the Klan were located in Florida and California. But there are a bunch of other ones that have been infiltrated, i.e. in Ohio, Missouri, but no mention of New York for some reason. I'm wondering why. Is it a stretch to believe that the FBI has been infiltrated by white supremacists as well? People that are right-leaning, Trump-supporting, people that have no problem leaking anti-Clinton information, but trying to suppress negative Trump information. To me, that Comey release, though in my opinion was illegal, makes a lot more sense based on this particular story, because Comey was afraid of leaks, and particularly leaks in New York. So he was, I guess, attempting to be proactive to get something out there in order to quote unquote, stop the leaks or to short circuit the leaks. But what he did was exactly what done. He put a letter out there that was chock full of innuendo and light on fact. People, we got a problem, you know. We got a problem with the FBI. We got a problem with all of these government agencies that we supposedly can put our trust in. When you have people that have the power that these agencies have, and they have their own agendas which don't align with the agendas of the American people, but align with the agenda of people of power, both political and financial. Big problems, big problems.